back to me. Enough is enough. They just wanna hurt us. Bring us down. Bring us down. Enough is enough. We won't let them hurt us. Bring us down. Bring us down. Enough is enough. You won't bring us down. Bring us down. Enough is enough. They just wanna hurt us. Bring us down. Bring us down. Enough is enough. We won't let them hurt us. Bring us down. I'm seeing color in black and white, so won't be defined. Living life through their eyes. This life.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Queen of the Indies Corner with another episode of Under the Ropes. I'm your host as always, the Queen of the Indies, Tiffany. And today I feel like you're so far from me, but I have my good friend Ross from Progress Wrestling. How are you?
Yeah, I'm very well, thank you. Pleasure to be here. It's a lot later here than it is for you. I'm almost at 10 p.m. here.
Yes, it's almost like it's so crazy, like, all around the world and, like the different, time zones. And then we got wrestling across the pond and everything. It's really cool. So I appreciate that you came on here to talk with us a little bit.
My pleasure.
So if you're new here to the Rope series, here I interview everything independent wrestling, whether it's wrestlers, promoters, referees, backstage. I got you covered. If you guys got any questions, please feel free, drop it into the chat. I'm sure Ross will have answer any of your questions. So we're gonna get started. So we're gonna party here. We have the Super Strong Tournament 16 going on. So that's what we're gonna talk about. But we'll give a little bit of history. But before we get into that, I want to know a little bit about you. Like how you got into wrestling, how you got involved with Progress. Give us a little bit.
Yeah, sure. So I've been a pro wrestling fan since I was a wee little boy. I can remember my first wrestling being WWF Superstars around 1991, maybe, I think. And really loving the over-the-top characters as a young boy and falling in love with all the different wrestlers. And my love just grew and grew. And then, like a lot of people, you get to the teenage years and you kind of drop off a little bit because you find out that there's other stuff going on in the world. But then you get to a certain age and you either come back to it or you don't, I think, because there's a huge lapsed fan wrestling community out there that I know of, and I was one of them. And I got back into wrestling through actually going to a show in the UK which had Bret Hart on it.
Oh, wow.
And he was an absolute favorite of mine, still is. Love the guy. And he was guest timekeeper, I think he was officially known as in that match, where in a match with Tanahashi in it as well. So that was where I kind of understood that British wrestling was undergoing a boom period around 2011, I think maybe 2012, maybe that show was. And it was a brilliant show. And I came for Bret Hart, but I found out all about the likes of Will Ospreay, Zack Sabre Jr., wrestlers that were from Britain, that you could see readily in Britain. And I was like, oh, okay, this is a scene that I need to know about. And started going to all the shows. Went to my first Progress Wrestling show, Chapter 13, which was quite famous because it was the chapter where the now Finn Balor, Prince Devitt, was wrestling Zack Sabre Jr. That was where Finn Balor came out as the Joker, all dressed up in the Joker gear. Looked amazing. That match was amazing. The Electric Ballroom, which is the place in Camden where it was held, it's kind of a counterculture town of London. It's quite well known for being an alternative place where creative souls end up, and that's where Progress Wrestling is based. And it just felt like such a really cool place. The wrestling was cool, the promotion was cool, and I just pretty much haven't missed a show since. Then through the pandemic, obviously, Progress Wrestling had a bit of hiatus where they were just doing shows in Peckham, actually, a different place in London, in front of no fans. And then when the fans came back, there was a whole new promoter brought in, guy named Lee McAteer and Martin Best, the two new owners of Progress when it got changed over. And they were looking for a new social media manager. And I was lucky enough to kind of have a weigh in with them because I was running a podcast at the time called Wrestling Should Be Fun. If anyone ever has followed that on Twitter over the past 6-7 years that we were running, that's what I used to do. And we were heavily involved with Progress. We would do Progress previews, Progress reviews, have talent on for interviews. And that included Lee. So that was how I got in touch with Lee. He kept in touch with me because of my social output on there. He was impressed with what I was doing there, luckily. And when the opportunity came up, I took their hand off immediately. And now I'm in the role of being social and PR for Progress Wrestling. And I pinch myself almost every day.
That's amazing. And it's great because it's like, you see a lot. And I think that's one thing with a lot of promotions, and it's like social media, it's free, like, right, you have like your Twitters, your TikToks, your Instagrams and everything like that, and you could use it. And then it's like, I look even for like upcoming shows and everything, I want to see promos, I want to see build-ups and clips from stuff. Sometimes like I find new promotions because of the fact that something was shared and everything like that. So it's so important to have that, and you're very active, which is very great. I'm constantly seeing stuff posted.
Yeah, we are very active. Yeah, I think we're probably the most active promotion on UK soil. Something that we pride ourselves on, and something that we're really good at because we've got an amazing media team as well. The promo packages that we put out, if you haven't seen the one that has gone out for Rio versus Nina Samuels for the show on Sunday. If you haven't seen that, then you should, because it highlights exactly what our media team can do. I think it holds up with anything that the major promotions do. And I absolutely have got nothing but mad respect for the people that do it.
Absolutely. I love that. Oh, hi, Ed, in the chat. He goes, what is the biggest difference between the indie scene before NXT UK and after NXT UK? Good question.
Very good question. I would argue that it's just allowed the talent pool to become more accessible. Mm-hmm. Not everyone had access to NXT UK wrestlers when NXT UK was on, for a multitude of reasons. Meant that there were certain wrestlers that were contracted to WWE that wrestled probably not as much as they wanted to be wrestling at the time. When you compare the output, for example, of Eddie Dennis and Nina Samuels in terms of matches during and then post NXT UK, it's meant that those wrestlers have been allowed to spread their wings and wrestle a lot more, which I think they're very happy with. And also it means that we get to see these wrestlers across the UK a lot more now. And that's not just the likes of us and Rev Pro, the major companies in the UK. Some of the smaller promotions are managing to put on some incredible cards now because the talent pool is just a lot more accessible.
Yeah, I love that. I love the fact that we also have a lot that, we're getting the crossover, right? Like here I am in New York, and then you have that you're like in UK and stuff. So it's like nice to see like the back and forth, we see that like I'll use Marcus Matters as the perfect example in the tournament and everything like that. I've been following Marcus since almost the beginning of his career, and just watching him just starting in like H2O and then starting to go to like other promotions within Jersey, and now he like blew up and now he's like WWE ID'd and he's in this tournament, so like how is that even for you to see, like, I'm not sure if like you've come to the States personally and watched wrestling. I don't know, like if you were at the Vegas.
Never have.
No.
Never have, no.
Goal for you?
Absolutely a goal, yeah. Obviously, Progress do shows in America. We do at least one a year. Mm-hmm. We obviously just off the back of our Vegas show, Pro WrestleMania weekend, and having watched how good it was from my home, I'm really jealous that I wasn't there. Um, but yeah, in the future, definitely would want to be there for a progress show or even for uh, another show because there's so many iconic wrestling venues that I'd love to be part of.
Definitely. There's so many, and like, and then we have like the wrestlers here. It's like, you know, you hear like, okay, I want to go wrestle UK, or I want to go to wrestle in Australia or like Japan. It's such like big.
Yeah,
It's really cool what wrestling has brought us together. Zach in the
absolutely.
chat's in there. Hi Zach. He goes, that's a Bangers women's match. Oh yeah, I love
Yeah,
that.
absolutely.
Putting it up on the
Um,
screen for you guys.
I'm sure that we're going to go into it later, but yeah, there's a long old story that they're telling, and there's a lot of stakes in that match as well.
Ooh. All right, so give a little bit of like history for like a fan that's never watched like Progress Wrestling before. Give us a little history with that, and then give us a little bit, you know, of how important, you know, the tournament is.
Yeah, sure. So Progress Wrestling started in 2012, and it's just gone on from there. So unlike a lot of other promotions, we run shows on chapters. So we started with chapter one in 2012, and the show on the weekend is going to be chapter 180. So we've got a lot of shows in our back drawer, and in terms of who's come through there, you've got a who's who really. The people that are on top of the promotions in the US, Japan, Mexico have all come through our doors. Former champions include Will Ospreay, Pete Dunne, Gunter, Tony Storm, Jordan Grace. So yeah, our kind of lineage has been brilliant from humble starts in Highbury in London to US tours to wrestling in Dubai. Yeah, it's just grown and grown and grown. And in terms of Super Strong Style 16, it's in its 10th year. It started in 2015, but because of the pandemic, it's not our 10th anniversary because we missed 2 years of action, unfortunately. So the tournament didn't take place in 2 years. So it's actually the ninth um, of its kind, and it's 16 men, and the winner gets an opportunity to have a title shot at the time when they're choosing. So obviously it's a grueling 2-day event. It used to be a 3-day event, which is even more grueling. This one is a 2-day event, and we've had previous winners, which are Zack Sabre Jr., Will Ospreay. Who else has been a previous winner? Our current champion, Luke Jacobs, won the tournament last year, won the belt, and is still the champion. So yeah, it's a mixture of the best of British, and then we tend to get some imports as well. So for example, last year our major import was Mike Santana and Shelton Benjamin. And this year's major imports, as you said, are Marcus Mathers, and also we've got 2 wrestlers from Pro Wrestling Noah in Masa Kitamiya and Jack Morris, which we're very excited about. And in the past, we've had the likes of Sammy Callahan, we've had Tommy End, who's now Alistair Black. He's actually a former winner. We've had Roderick Strong, Tommaso Ciampa. Yeah, so in terms of the tournament, it's highly thought of as along with the 16 karat gold tournament in Germany, as the biggest tournament in Europe.
I love that. Which one would you recommend for like a fan? Obviously, you know, we're gonna say watch everything, you know, but for like a fan to like kind of wet their feet, which one would you recommend for them to watch?
In terms of the tournaments,
Yes.
so I'm a bit of a historian, so I would love people to see the very first one, which was 2015, which, spoiler alert, Will Ospreay won. And that featured some incredible matches. You had Chris Hero in that tournament. You had Gunter in that tournament. You had Big Damo in that tournament. Zack Sabre Jr. in that tournament. Mark Haskins in that tournament. Yeah, some incredible matches. And it was the first of its kind. And I think you kind of see the people that are going to be on the precipice of greatness. And you see the people that were really important on the British scene at that time as well.
Wow, look at that. Let me get some love in the chat. Archangel, hi, how are you? Matt has two questions, and I know like one of the questions actually was a fan tweet, so I'll give credit to both. So Matt in chat says, first question: how's the relationship going with Defy?
Yeah, so the relationship with Defy is almost a year old now, I think, and more and more kind of interactions. So at the start, it was very much leaving them to do them and leaving us to do us. But I think the fans and the talent are wanting more kind of interspersed, and it's something that we're going to give them, and it's something that we've been seeing recently. So, for example, Rio performed recently in Seattle, where she had a bit of a set to with Vixen, which led to the triple threat match in Vegas. So I think a lot more of that is going to be introduced. So it's not just going to be kind of in conjunction with. There's going to be a bit more kind of Defy wrestlers coming to Camden and Progress wrestlers coming to Seattle, which is going to be very exciting, I think.
Ooh, it's so exciting. I love that, the partnership that you get to like see it again, like, you know, bring it over here, you know, we get to watch that. The second question from Matt says, do you think you'll ever go back to Alexandra Palace or hold it over 3 days again?
I think it's something that the bosses want to do. Obviously, the financial aspect of that is huge. It was back then, but with inflation, it means that it's even more expensive than it was back when we were doing it. So it has to be a case of supply and demand. But it's something that the company definitely want to happen. And I think that maybe looking at it kind of in a sentimental way, maybe it's something that we should do for the 10th version of the tournament as a bit of a centenary.
Love that. Archangel said, "How often do you shows in the States?"
In the States, so we try and do at least one, and that's definitely the WrestleMania weekend.
Yeah.
But for example, we also did a tie-in show with Defy at the back end of last year. So we did Chicago and we did New York. So we did 3 shows last year. Currently 1, but who knows? Maybe we'll get a few more in with our partnership with Defy, helping us out with that as well.
Definitely, would love that. Ed says, "Who do you think is the next breakout star that nobody knows about just yet?" Ooh, good question.
Ooh. Now, this is where my personal bias comes in a bit. I think someone like Charlie Sterling. So Charlie Sterling has been on the scene for a long time. He's been a tag team specialist for us at Progress in the Smoking Aces, 3 times champions, incredible tag team wrestler. But his partner, Nick Riley, is sadly just retired. Healthily, gladly. He's just taken it upon himself to think, I want to retire on my terms and in a way where he's happy with his body of work. And that's meant that it's now a case where Charlie Sterling has an opportunity to become a solo wrestler. And he's got all the capability of becoming a big star, I think. He's tall, he's big, he's handsome. He's got a really good blend of the athleticism to do the kind of indie-rific wrestling that everyone loves. But he's also got the mind of someone who loves kind of 1980s AWA. So he's got a real good blend of what can make an audience tick as well. So he knows how to get booed, and people love booing him.
Love that. Definitely like that. We like to heckle the heels around here. Definitely. So also Russ had asked the question about your partnership with Defy Wrestling, which you talked about a little bit. So I just wanted to give a little love to Russ. Tell us a little bit, Vegas a little bit, how, again, like we talked about, it was like Mania week, which is a great platform. This was on Thriller. If you guys have Thriller, for the monthly subscription, you could go back, watch it if you didn't watch it. You guys know me personally, I'm an Adam Priest fan, so I'm all about it and stuff like that, so I have to watch that. So give us a little bit of background with that too.
Yeah, so that was chapter 179, which is leading into chapter 180, which is happening this weekend. We had some huge debuts, as you say. Adam Priest, a wrestler that's been on our radar for a long time, was able to make his debut in the scramble match that left us with our new Proteus World Champion in Paul Walter Hauser, which caused a lot of eyebrows raised in the wrestling scene. Obviously, a Golden Globe winning actor being a wrestling champion for the first time. We had a debut of the legend that is Minoru Suzuki in an absolutely brilliant match with Cara Noir. Cara Noir was someone that the American fans were really desperate to see.
Yeah.
And I'm really happy that we were able to bring him over there. And then we had the main event, which I've seen quite a few blogs and podcasts talking about Mania weekend and saying that arguably it was the match of the whole weekend, not just our show. And that was Michael Oku and Luke Jacobs for the Men's World Championship in a match that we knew was going to be great, and they delivered. They're just two brilliant wrestlers that warrant as many people watching them as possible. And they've obviously got a history in Britain, and it bled into this match as well, with Michael Oku claiming that he is the John Cena of British wrestling. But he was unable to win the match, but he gave it everything in a match that, yeah, people are still talking about now, and really proud of that match. I'm really happy to have put that on for the crowd who were really into the match, even at 2 a.m. local time.
Yeah. Oh man. Like, yeah, I watched it back like the next day and I was like, oh my God. And then I was like texting like promoters and I'm like, so when you bring Michael in, like, you know, does he come to the States a lot? Because you need to bring him in. Like I put a tweet out that I was like, okay, I want Michael versus Dustin Flash Waller. And I was like, because this match would be so good. I was like, you know, so all hear about the, you know, the fast pace and everything. Oh man, banger. Definitely banger. Definitely go watch this if you haven't already. Let me do some other, I have like 2 other fan tweets here, and then, you know, and of course anybody got questions in chat, I'll, you know, ask them too, and then we'll get into a little bit about the tournament a little bit more. So Good Cop, Bad Cop, he likes messing with everybody on the podcast, so I always expect like the fun questions with him. He goes, so when having a recent show in Vegas, it got me thinking, did people in Nevada call Progress Wrestling, or did they call it Progress Wrestling? I know he always messes.
Yeah, we get this a lot. You Americans love to call it progress, and I understand that. That's how you say the word over there. That's perfectly acceptable. There are certain Brits that won't stand for it and will purposely make you say it the correct way, the British way, progress, including Spike Trevay, who used to always correct when we had SoCal Val as our ring woman. She would always say progress, and he would always call her up on it in front of everyone.
I was like, worse with me, because it's like I have that thick New York accent and everything like that, so you get what you get.
Absolutely, yeah.
It's just how it is. So, but obviously, yeah.
I think Lee answered this question on a podcast where he was with an American host, and he was basically just said the term of, as long as you're talking about progress or progress, we don't mind. As long as you're talking about us.
I love that. We have a fan tweet from 5 Nerds. He says, a lot of people have wondered why are there no women in the tournament if they've considered a female-only tournament. And then he said, Marcus Matters is WWE ID talent, so wonder if they're going to be linked up with WWE again like they were previously.
So I think in terms of the WWE stuff, I think the bosses are very much open to the WWE ID stuff, and they're very much open to working with anyone and everyone. That includes the WWE. So definitely no closed doors there in terms of we definitely won't work with WWE or any other companies in that way. So definitely open to it, and the fact that we've got WWE ID'd Marcus Mathers on our show, we're really happy with, and happy to have him back actually, because he made his UK debut for us at Chapter 170. So that was a match against Leon Slater that should go back and watch that. That was an absolute banger. And then in terms of the women in the Super Strong style, obviously that is not my call at all. I know that there was a lot of call for it online. Charlie Evans particularly wanting to be in the tournament, and I think it's something that could or should happen in the future. Just didn't happen this year. And in terms of the Super Strong style for women, it's something that I personally would love to see. There's definitely the talent pool for it in the UK. I know Rio in particular, our former champion and trying to be new champion on Sunday. She's been advocating for that for many years, actually. It's something that I would love to see at some point, especially as the company is called Progress, that would be progress, right? To have a 16-woman tournament, something that I don't think has happened elsewhere.
Well, there's a lot of women. I'm sure, you know, if you want to like leave some names in the chat that you would like to see, that'd be kind of cool, you know, like, or if you're watching this later, maybe put your own tournament of like 16 women that you'd like to see. I'd definitely love to.
Absolutely,
you know,
yeah. And it's something that we would absolutely be amazed at. And also, like, obviously, we've got such a huge previous history. So the likes of Tony Storm or Jordan Grace coming into that tournament would be amazing as well.
Yeah, definitely. A lot of amazing women in there. You know, Zach's in the chat. Me and Zach would push for Gabby Forza. That's our girl. Shout out to her as always. You know, maybe we'll see that.
Yeah, just send in a CV.
Yeah. Okay. We'll see. We're gonna like clip it. We're gonna tag. We're like this is what we want. This is what the fans want. Zach is proud to have Oku as the Jericho Cruise champion.
Yes, love that.
Love that. Love that. All right, so like break down a little bit about this 2-day event. So I have the brackets, you know, give us a little bit, you know, give us a little bit of history and everything.
Yeah, so the brackets came out this week with the draw with Al Ronald, who is our director and producer, and Ed Gamble, who is a podcaster, comedian in the UK, very, very well known, and a big, huge wrestling fan. He's been coming to Progress shows for a long time. He recently was he actually was part of the last show in Camden as Ed the Gamble, as the Dastardly heel to Phil Wang's babyface. It was a lot of fun. They were plugging their Clash of the Comics event in Hammersmith in October. So that was a lot of fun to do the draw with him. And we've got our brackets of the 16 wrestlers. So I think the first round starts with Man Like Doris and Ethan Allen, I believe is the first match.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
On the left-hand side.
Mm-hmm.
That's a match that has got a huge personal history. So for those that don't know, Man Like Doris, huge star in the UK and becoming a huge star in the US, wrestling for the likes of GCW, Defy, and countless others, getting a big name for himself, training it when he's out there with Natty Neidhart, who seems to absolutely love him, constantly letting us know how good he is, which is something that we're loving seeing. He's charismatic. He's got an amazing theme song, which always helps to get the crowd behind him. And he is part of a tag team called Boisterous Behavior with Leon Slater, who you may know as the man who did that insane jump on the Ultimate X match last weekend in TNA. And they have an ongoing feud with the Young Guns, which is Ethan Allen, who is facing on Sunday, and our champion, Luke Jacobs. And they fought in a tag team match in Manchester, and they beat them. But every time that Leon Slater and Doris have tried to dethrone Luke Jacobs as a singles wrestler to win the title, they've come out on the losing end. And Ethan Allen is a big part of that because he tends to get involved in these matches to help his mate, Luke Jacobs. And then they had a match shortly afterwards, and they were so embroiled in hate that it actually ended in a double count out with just a brawl all over Camden. So there couldn't be a winner. And there has to be a winner in this, of course, in the tournament. And if it's a double count out again and they let their hate get the better of them, then they're both out the tournament. So they've got to try and make sure that they're able to kind of keep their hatred in check and make sure that they're able to get into the next round on the Monday. So, yeah, it's probably the most personal of the 8 matches on Sunday, and it's going to be really interesting to see who can go through.
Ooh, exciting. Definitely exciting for that one. Okay, so the next one. So, again, all these matches are on the first round. They're all on night 1, correct?
So on the Sunday.
I'm sorry. Yes. Sorry.
Which I believe is 10 a.m. Eastern for you guys over there.
Mm-hmm. Perfect.
Live on Triller and live on Demand Progress Plus.
See, so you can. I have in the links below. So if you want to follow the site, or if you have Thriller, which is great, so you can log into that as well. So okay. So yes, first round is the Sunday, correct? Of all the matches.
Correct, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, Okay, so the next round, what you said, Tate Mayfair and Masa Kitsumiya. Say,
Yeah, it's not an easy one to get.
yes, go ahead, you say
answer on that
it.
one. Yeah, so Tate Mayfair is a very interesting character. Been in progress for a long time. Was always a big heel. Probably arguably the most hated wrestler in progress for a long time. Would always go after the progress fans' favorites, the likes of Simon Miller. He actually beat Simon Miller 3 times in a row, which the fans hated. He calls himself Tateness Greatness. He even went to the trouble of, if you search the greatest wrestler living on planet Earth, he's managed to create an SEO where his name actually comes up when you type that in. So when when you say who is the greatest wrestler on planet Earth, it actually is Tate Mayfair because Google tells you it is. So that's incredible. He was always known as a dastardly guy, but he did have a genuine friendship with Eddie Dennis, who was one of the most loved wrestlers on Progress Wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
And Eddie Dennis was trying to convince the Progress crowd that he's actually, like, underneath it all, he's actually a really good guy. He's the guy that would be first into the venue, the last out of the venue. He would be the guy that would drive people. He would be taking people to hospital who were hurt. He was a really good guy underneath it all, but he won't let the crowd see it because he's got a puppet front. They had a feud that lasted 4 or 5 months. It ended with a brutal last man standing match, which Tate Mayfair's won. So he's coming off the back of a win in terms of the matches in Camden, even though he came out in the losing end in Vegas. But steadily but surely, the crowd have really got behind Tate Mayfair's, and there's a real surge for him to be a big star in terms of a babyface way.
Mm-hmm.
So he's a big favorite coming into this tournament with the crowd behind him. And he's actually said after the loss in Vegas that he can't do it by himself. He's actually asked the fans to really get behind him. That's going to be interesting because he's going to be facing Masa Kitamiya from Pro Wrestling Noah, who's a tag team specialist, 7-time tag team champion in Pro Wrestling Noah, coming into this as a solo wrestler. So that's going to be interesting for him to see, can he break out as a solo wrestler in this tournament on new ground, making his Progress debut. So this is a real interesting match because kind of everything points towards a Tate Mayfair's win in terms of home advantage. He hasn't had to fly in from Japan. There's no jet lag involved. But Masa Kitamiya is an absolute beast. He's a powerhouse, and he's going to have the strength advantage. He's probably got the experience advantage as well. So, yeah, a big match. It's going to have a big match feel. I think the crowd are going to be behind Tate Mayfair's, but I think they're also going to love Masa Kitamiya.
Well, we love Tate Mayfair over here. A bunch of us, like, we've seen him like so many times. So amazing, excellent wrestler. This is just like stacked. This tournament's stacked pretty much. So.
And it's just the first round.
I know, it's crazy. It's crazy. Which match do you want to talk about next?
So what's the next one on the left hand side? I think it's
Marcus Mathers and Will Cruz.
Yes. Okay. So Marcus Mathers. We don't need to talk about him too much because we've talked about him already. WWE ID, one of the most up-and-coming wrestlers on the independent scene in America, breaking out into Europe here. He's claimed that he wants to prove that he's the best in the world, and he thinks that by doing this tournament and winning it, it will prove that. So he's got a bit of a chip on his shoulder. He was in the match with Tate Mayfair's in Vegas with Juan Manders where they came out on the losing end. He got an absolute massive lariat, unfortunately for him.
Yeah.
If you get hit with that lariat, you ain't getting up. And he's coming into this match against Will Cruz, who's a very interesting wrestler, super heavyweight, probably the biggest wrestler on the tournament, I think, in terms of size. And he's pretty new to Progress Wrestling, not new to wrestling. He's been wrestling all over the UK for a long time. But he has recently broke away from the first family of Progress, which is Gene Money, Sesha Moff Martina, and it was their number one nephew, Will Cruz. But Will Cruz has had enough of being bullied pretty much, both mentally and physically, by those two. And he broke free at chapter 178, the last chapter in Camden, to huge cheers from the crowd. And the crowd are going to be behind him just as much as they're going to be behind Tate Mayfair. So again, very interesting here. There's going to be an import against a much loved British wrestler. So a wrestler that the crowd know very well and have got investment in, and a wrestler that I'm sure they know in terms of Marcus Mazes, and they may have seen him when he came previously on Chapter 170. So he's up against home field advantage again, similar to what Masa Kitamiya is with Tate Mayfair. So again, a very awkward one to pick, I think, but one that will be very interesting because obviously Will Cruz wants to prove himself, not just that he's able to become someone as part of as away from the family, but he also wants to prove that he's worthy of his spot in Progress Wrestling. So yeah, I'm really excited for this one personally.
Ooh, it's gonna be good. Next match on the bracket, Charlie Sterling and Simon Miller.
Yeah, so this is Charlie Sterling, who I spoke of earlier, someone who I believe is capable of breaking out from his tag team, Smoking Aces, and this is his first shot at doing so. He's up against Simon Miller, who I'm sure people know and love from his YouTube page and on What Culture, doing these really fun, zany videos for years and years and years, golden ups, golden downs. And he came into Progress Wrestling as our host for a long time. And it was said for a long time that he would never be a wrestler at Progress because Progress, the certain brand, is super strong style wrestling. There's no space for YouTube wrestlers or wannabe wrestlers. But he stuck around as the host. The people loved him. He had that first match against Tate Mayfair's, and the hosting was no more. And then people accepted him as a wrestler. And it's something that he's been fighting his whole career for, I guess, in terms of being taken seriously. And it got to a point where he had his opportunity to become Proteus champion, and he took it. He managed to beat Robbo, someone who had held that belt for over 5 years, and he beat him, becoming only the second champion of the Proteus championship. And he had a great reign with the title. He defended it in the UK, defended it in the US, went to Vegas to defend it in that scramble match, and unfortunately for him, came away without his title. So he's coming into this kind of hurt, really, kind of physically and mentally. How he's going to address that is going to be really interesting. Is he going to wrestle a slightly more angrier style? Is he going to kind of drop the kind of feel good stuff at the door and take this really, really seriously? Or is he still going to play to the fans and try and win them over just as much as he's trying to win the championship shot? So that's going to be interesting as well coming into this, because seeing Simon Miller now without that Proteus championship is going to be weird, because he's been a great champion with it and kind of become synonymous with it. So how he reacts to not having it is going to be really interesting up against Charlie Sterling, who is more than capable of, unfortunately for Simon, more than capable of showing his true self here as well.
Oh, love that. Trayvon Jordan from Waves and Curls is in the chat. He goes, "Hey, Ross from Progress, do you like choke slams?"
I love a choke slam. Absolutely, yeah. Talking of choke slams and Simon Miller, if you want to watch a fun match, Chapter 170, I want to say 6, for the Love of Wrestling 3. Our main event was Simon Miller versus Charles Crowley in a WWE finisher match, where you could only win the match by doing a WWE finisher. And Simon Miller hit an incredible chokeslam in that match. So if you haven't seen it, go back and watch it.
Trayvon, are you, doing some challenges here for, the chokeslam champion, as we call him? So that's the chokeslam champion. I love it. Matt in the chat says, "I remember the three-way with RSP, Kroons, and Joe Hendry. You should have seen RSP's face when Kroos ran the ropes and the ring moved." Oh, damn.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that was his Progress debut in a venue called the Dome over in Tufnell Park. So a smaller venue. Really cool. It was an Atlas tournament. So Atlas Championship is for the big boys. So anyone over 205 pounds, they're able to wrestle in that tournament. So we had Bronson Reed was in that tournament. Joe Hendry was in that tournament. Yeah, real fun. And that triple threat was absolutely brilliant. Really fun.
There you go. So now we're moving on to the right side of the bracket. We have here Jack Morris versus Leon Slater. Leon Slater, we've seen a lot, also GCW was very big on the collective here. You should be very familiar with, that as well. Give us a little history with this match.
Yeah, so Leon Slater, someone who has actually been in this twice previous and lost both first round matches. So not got great history in this tournament in terms of his actual advancement, but he's got experience in being in it. I'm sure he's hoping it'll be third time lucky for him. His first match actually last year was a first round loss to Shelton Benjamin, so that's not someone that that's no pushover. Let's be honest. But he's going to be coming into this again with a bit of a chip on his shoulder. British wrestling. I don't think he's actually ever won a title in Progress, or maybe I may be wrong on that, but I'm pretty sure he's never won a championship, whether it be a tag or singles. So he's been wrestling with us for quite some time, and the fact he hasn't managed it, even though he's only 21 or whatever, his ridiculous young age is, you'd have expected him to have won a championship. So he's going to be absolutely desperate to go far in this tournament. And he's got a tough draw because I think many people on the internet have been saying on that right-hand side, particularly, that is a tough draw to be on. And he's up against Jack Morris first, another Progress debut. Scottish wrestler who's been making a name for himself in Pro Wrestling Noah. He's been tag team champion just last year with WWE's Omos, someone that we haven't seen in very often recently. If you're not aware of him, he's the wrestler that wrestled Brock Lesnar last year at WrestleMania. So he's got pedigree, and he's very, very tall and big and strong. And I'm sure that he did a lot of the work for Jack. But Jack himself, an incredible specimen, very fast, very technical, very good in the ring. And him against Leon Slater, I've seen many people online saying that could be the hit of the Sunday matches in terms of chemistry between them. That this one could be one to watch for sure.
Ooh, love that. I love a good technical match over there for every once in a while, like a really, really good one. So, but this one's gonna be good. So we're gonna move on. Kid Locos 2 and Zozea. Talk to us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so this will be a real fast-paced match. So Kid Lycos 2 is obviously the protege of Kid Lycos, who's also in this tournament that we'll talk about in a bit. And Kid Lycos has very much been the kind of shining light of Lycos Gym. He's a former Progress World Champion, and Kid Lycos 2 played a huge part in getting him to be champion, fighting his fights for a lot of cases, being in his corner at all times. In the cage match that he won the title, he jumped off the cage to fend off the warring faction that were beating up on Kid Lycos. So he's someone that is a great friend and a great wrestler himself, but he's also someone that's ready to break out, I think. So we respect him to the point where when Vikingo came over to us on the December show, just last year, he was the chosen opponent. That shows how much we think of Kid Lycos 2, not just as a tag team wrestler or a best friend of Kid Lycos. He's more than capable of going in there with the very best, like a Vikingo. And he went in there and he went toe-to-toe with him. Unfortunately, Vikingo got a small injury, so the match was stopped. But by that point, we weren't entirely sure he was going to win that match because Kid Lycos 2 gave everybody as good as he got to Vikingo. And yeah, pace, kind of a little bit of what we would call shithousery, a little bit of cheating. He's not shying away from that either, even though he's a babyface at the moment. But yeah, he's amazing, and he's up against Zazoya. So he's a Spanish wrestler, a Spanish sensation. He's making a name for himself across Europe. He is a brilliant wrestler. He's a very different wrestler. He uses his knees a lot, not in terms of knee strikes. So like he actually kind of moves around the ring on his knees quite a lot, which is kind of hard to kind of gauge, I guess, for the opponent because it's something that doesn't normally happen. So he is quite an interesting wrestler to watch, but it's not just the like knee thing. That's a very small thing of his wrestling ability. He's taller than Kid Lycos 2 and arguably bigger, and he's just as fast and just as agile. So this match is going to be 200 miles per hour. Maybe the quickest match. It may be the quickest and shortest match of the tournament because they're just going to go at it first from the get-go, I think. So that'll be very interesting. And yeah, they're going to treat us to an absolute great match, I think.
I love that. I love like the fast-paced matches. Those are like definitely like a Tiffany match. Like definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely looking
Think
forward to
think WWE Speed,
that.
a 3-minute match that's going to go very, very quick.
I like that. Trayvon in the chat says, I'll defend the Chokeslam Championship anywhere, you know this, but hey, Waves and Curls would love to dance over the pond progress one day. And he put the little
Yes.
streamers. So, you
I
know.
love that. Love that. As the Progress Wrestling saying goes, everyone welcome.
Look at that. Look at that. So maybe one day we'll see good old Trayvon and Jalen Braden over there. That'll be kind of fun. We'll do some partying a little bit over there. Love that. All right. So let's move on. Okay, let me pull this one up. So we're back. We're moving on. Michael Oku versus Kid Locust. So let's talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, this match is arguably the kind of, I guess it wouldn't be out of place as a main event on any of our chapters. So you've got Michael Oku, the wrestler who is on the tip of the tongue of so many wrestling fans, not just in the UK, but America. I've seen recently that he's going to be debuting for Maple Leaf Wrestling a few weeks after this event. So he's obviously caught the eye of people over there. As you say, he's been on the Jericho Cruise. He just wrestled on the Ring of Honor taping that AEW did. It's been widely linked that he's going to be maybe wrestling on the Forbidden Door show in the UK. So yeah, he's someone that's ready. Like, you could put him on a major promotion now, and he's the finished product. Not just him, but also his valet Amira. She adds a huge amount to his sizzle, I guess. They're a really great partnership. They're all, she's I guess his Miss Elizabeth to his Randy Savage.
I love that.
Always dressed immaculately. Always by her man's side. Ready to get physical if so be it. Even against the big tough wrestlers like Luke Jacobs in Vegas, she got in his face. Yeah, and he's someone who was away from Progress for a long time. I think it was 5 years that he was away from Progress. Went and did his thing and has made a huge name for himself. But he actually made his wrestling debut in Progress. So he's back home in terms of where he started. He's probably more known for the stuff he's done elsewhere now. But he's back home, and he's looking to become Progress champion for the first time. He failed in Vegas, but he was valiant in his loss. That, like, I don't think there was any one out there saying he didn't put out a great showing, and that's the reason that he's in this tournament, because he's earned another shot, I think, with his effort in Vegas. So this could be his chance to become the Progress champion for the first time, whether it be against Luke Jacobs or Cara Noir, who Cara Noir faces Luke Jacobs on night 2. And yeah, Kid Lycos, former Progress champion. So you've got a former Progress champion against someone that wants to be a Progress champion for the first time. I think it's a first time ever match as well, which is crazy because I think they've both been on the scene for like almost 10 years each. And the fact they've never faced each other is mad. And the fact that we're the ones that are able to put it on, I think is very exciting for fans. And I think it's going to be a split run because Kid Lycos is known as the soul of Progress. The way that he battled from underneath to become the champion against Spike Gervais, the crowd really got behind him, really believed in him. Unfortunately, he lost that title because his so-called friend Luke Jacobs screwed him. But it's going to be a split crowd because the crowd love Kid Lycos and the crowd love Michael Oku. So it's going to be both these guys, I think, in that room.
And I love it that it's a first time match, and you're having it on this big platform. It's like, here's a tournament. Not that it would be great anywhere else, but you're having it first round. It's like, oh God.
Yeah. As I said, like, if this match was the final, I don't think fans would be unhappy. Like, it's a huge match.
Ooh. And then the final match, Trent Seven versus Charles Crowley. Ooh. Okay. Yeah.
So two big characters here. Trent Seven, someone that is very synonymous with the original Progress Wrestling back in the day, British Strong Style. Him, Tyler Bate, Pete Dunne. They ran rampant in Progress Wrestling. He was tag team champion, Atlas champion, whilst Pete Dunne was world champion, and they were NXT UK, and they used to lord it over us, and they would stand on the Progress titles and raise the NXT titles and tell us that NXT was better than Progress, and the fans would hate it. But underneath it all, people respect Trent Seven. They absolutely love him. And he came back to Progress earlier this year in an absolute banger match with Ricky Knight Jr. Then he's just had a match with Cara Noir, which was absolutely unreal. The crowd left the two in the ring on their knees whilst the crowd came and banged on the apron, telling them how good the match was. So he's still capable of putting on incredible matches. And as I say, even though he's synonymous with the old Progress and he's got so much respect from everyone, he, again, never won the Progress World Championships. This is an opportunity for him to become a Triple Crown winner in Progress. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, a huge opportunity for him. And he's up against Charles Crowley, who... How do you explain Charles Crowley? So imagine a spectacular circus vamp.
Yes.
He's like a circus ringleader, full of tricks. He's recently just been taught how to use the green mist by Yoshihiro Tajiri in Japan. Well, I say taught. He got told that he was allowed to use it, so that's why he does use it, because he's had permission to use it. He was given permission, but he wasn't told how to. So for months and months and months, he would have the green mist, but he wouldn't be too sure how to use it. So he would inhale it, he would choke on it.
Goodness.
And finally, he managed to figure it out, and he's starting to use it. He used it against Sesha Moth Martina to beat her in London. And then he used it in the Scramble match in Vegas, and that was the reason that Simon Miller is no longer the champion. So potentially, if we could have a final, as they're on either side of the brackets between Miller and Crowley, that would be a heated one, I think.
Oh, this is crazy. Let me know in the chat. Do you have any predictions? Who's going to be the final two? Who's going to be your winner? Like, I'd love to see that. You know, if you're watching this later, leave it in, in the comments, or quote tweet. Let me know. Let us know. We want to know. Darren in the chat says, Super Strong Style 16 is one of my favorite tournaments in pro wrestling. Definitely fun to watch. Ooh.
Oh, absolutely.
See, I have a little bias. Yeah, go ahead.
Actually, we've actually got a sweepstakes going on the website. So if you search progresswrestling.com/merch, you can win a one of one. So only one has been made. So it's only the only one that exists in the world. Specifically for this tournament, we have made a full-size Progress Wrestling Super Strong Style belt that you can win. To enter is just £10, so about $8 for you. And it will ship worldwide if you win. It's just a case of you put your name in the hat, and then you can have a one-of-one belt that can sit on your side. You can wear it. You can wear it to work. You can wear it on the bus. Yeah, so that's pretty exciting as well. So if you've got $8 spare or £10, if you're watching in the UK, it's something that's worth entering.
Because I think it's worth amazing.
I think it's worth something like £650, I think. So yeah.
Wow. Hey, you can't go wrong. I mean, you see, like, everybody's into like the memorabilia, the belts. Like, how cool is that? You'd be like, the only one. So make sure you enter. And again, the link's in the description below, so you can go click and go enter. So, and then if you win, post some pics.
Absolutely, yeah, please do.
That'd be definitely cool. So, okay, so talk to us about like the other matches that you have that's outside of the tournament.
Yeah, so we're going to have the huge women's title match on the Sunday. So I think that's going to main event on the Sunday. I might be wrong. I'm not in charge of creative.
Yeah.
But I would put that as the main event. So it's huge. So Rio was our champion for 434 days. She had an amazing reign. She was known as a fighting champion. She would fight anyone, anywhere. She wrestled for it in Germany, wrestled for it in America, wrestled for it in the UK. He had something stupid like 18 successful defenses. I'm not entirely sure if I got that right, but it's around about that kind of like it was a long reign. He beat a lot of people. He beat a lot of people multiple times. Not just in normal matches. He beat someone in a ladder match. She main evented her first ever main event. I think it's Chapter 172 against Lizzie Evo in a match that was unreal, which featured a package power driver off the apron. Some crazy moves in that match. She's amazing. Everyone loves her. Obviously, there's a lot of talk about her at the moment in terms of is she going to NXT or AEW or TNA? There seems to be a lot of talk around her moving abroad, doing her thing. We don't know. Obviously, that's not our call. We want her to do the absolute best for herself, and if she's showing her best with progress, we hope that she moves on to all the things in the world that she wants to move on to. But she's put herself huge stakes here because she lost her title to Nina Samuels. Nina Samuels, she's all about the Nina Samuels show. Nina Samuels isn't about Progress Wrestling. Nina Samuels is about Nina Samuels. And we have a show called Unboxing, which is where no matches are announced before the show. So people buy a ticket just knowing that they're coming to see Progress Wrestling. And the wrestlers don't know who they're fighting either.
Ooh.
And Rio comes out for her match, and she's just saying, I've been champion for this amount of time. I just need to win this match to become the longest reigning Progress champion of all time, beating the record currently held by Ginny, who, if you don't know, is the wife of Gunther. And she waits for the music to hit. Miko Satomura, absolute legend, who just recently retired in Sendai Girls, former NXT UK champion, former Progress champion. Everyone's really excited for this dream match, but lo and behold, from behind, it's Nina Samuels with a chair, attacks her with a chair, hits her with her own move, hits her with a chair a few more times, and then goads her into the match by saying, I thought you were a fighting champion. So she really plays on the fact that she's a very prideful champion. And to save face and to not let people down in her eyes, she entered that match despite the attack, knowing fully well she wasn't ready for the match in the state that she was in. Wearily goes under the ropes into the match. The referee says, are you sure? She says yes. The match bell rings. Nina hits her with a finisher, pins her in like 8 seconds. And the room just fell silent. And then there was quite a bit of bullshit chants. And of course, Nina Samuels lords it over us and is the new Progress World Champion. Ever since then, Nina Samuels has been champion, but she's been a very different champion to Rio. Whereas Rio would take on all comers, make sure that the fight was fair, Nina has taken it upon herself to always interject herself into a match that suits her. So, for example, Rain Leverkusen earned the right to become a number one contender by winning a Thunder Bastard match, which is a 7-person elimination battle royal gauntlet match. And she had an incredible showing, and she's absolutely knackered. She's tired. And then Nina, who is on commentary, attacks her and does the same thing. If you're a real number one contender, you will face me now. And in that same way, in that prideful way of baby faces, Rain Leverkusen accepts, and she's wrong to accept in that way because she's not ready after what she just went through. And again, she loses in super quick time, and that's your championship match. Rather than having that match on the next chapter in a fair fight that fans wanted to see, and Rain Leverkusen earned, it turned into a 10-second nightmare for Rain Leverkusen, and she's no longer number one contender. That's the sort of wrestler and mindset that Nina Samuels has. So Rio knows that. It goes into Vegas. It's a one-on-one match between Rio and Nina. Rio has issues with Vert Vixen in Defy in Seattle. Vert Vixen demands to be added to the match. Nina Samuels accepts, and she says, why do you think I accepted that? Because these two hate each other. They're going to tear each other apart, and I'm going to pick up the pieces. He told us what her tactic was. And then you watch the match back in Vegas. That's exactly what happened. So Rio backstage in Vegas, absolutely sick of Nina Samuels, is like, this is it, do or die. If I can't beat you, I'm going to put my career with Progress Wrestling on the line. So if Rio doesn't win this match on Sunday, her Progress career is over, and I think everyone will be devastated because she's been an incredible ambassador for the company and an incredible wrestler for the company. And there's only one person that will be happy if that happens, and that would be Nina Samuels. But can she do it when the fight is fair? That's going to be the big question.
Ooh. So you got to tune on in. Definitely. Make sure you get it. Make sure if you got Thriller or, do your thing. It's going to be good. Definitely good. So, and then we have championship match.
Yeah. So the women's championship is on Sunday. And on the Monday, we will find out who the winner of Super Strong Style 16 will be facing for the championship. It's either going to be current champion Luke Jacobs, who is a dominant champion. You can't really point the same thing that Nina has been doing. I think he kind of will have a fair fight with people. He backs himself. He's a very confident man. Some may argue too confident. But he does have his sidekick, Ethan Allen, for when things do get a little bit risky. He's a wrestler who, if you haven't seen him, he's a very strong style wrestler. People seem to say that he's kind of a mixture between like a Stan Hansen and like almost like a Trevor Murdoch, maybe. Kind of a brawler that's ready to throw down fists with anyone. Also kind of similar to One Called Manders. If you've seen their match from GCW, that match is really, really good.
Yeah.
But yeah, Luke Jacobs, a brilliant champion. People may not like his attitude, but he's a brilliant champion. And he's up against Cara Noir, who is one of our most mysterious, intriguing, charismatic wrestlers. He is the Royal Black Swan. He was the Black Swan, but he returned from injury to a huge fanfare when people didn't think his career was going to complete after his terrible foot injury in the cage match that he had with Spike Trevay. He wrestled bare feet, and that's one of the reasons that you probably shouldn't wrestle bare feet. So he is a very enigmatic wrestler. He had an incredible trio of matches with Ilya Dragunov that we've got in our back catalogue. If you go back and watch it on Demand Progress Plus, that's an incredible trio of matches. Then he had his Progress title run, which was incredible, and that came to an end in his feud with Spike Trevay. Again, if you want to go back and watch great storytelling as well as wrestling, this is your kind of wrestling. He is a storyteller, someone you can't you just can't take your mind off. He wrestles in a very different way to everyone else, and it's going to be very interesting to see if he can do what he's done already twice before. When he was Progress champion, he beat Luke Jacobs twice before. So can he do it a third time to win back the title that he lost? We're going to find out. He hasn't had a title shot since his return, so this is his first attempt to come back as champion after being such a brilliant champion for us. And yeah, it's a bit of a dream match. Luke Jacobs, when he used to face him back in the day, he was a very young man, and now he's a fully grown man and someone that's carrying that title on his shoulder. So yeah, it's a very different Luke Jacobs to what he used to face. And actually, Cara Noir is a very different wrestler as well. So
very interesting.
Really sad.
Definitely intriguing. I love seeing him on even again all the other platforms during Mania Week and everything. And the fans were going nuts for him, and I was like, I'm sold. I was like, he's fun. I was like, this is great. So
unfortunately, at Vegas, he faced Minoru Suzuki, who just absolutely murdered him.
Yeah.
If you haven't seen the clip from when he has him in the rear naked choke and then Suzuki throws him on his head, it was one of the scariest bumps I've ever seen. I wasn't sure he was okay for a while, and I was a bit open-mouthed and a bit, oh my God, something's terrible's happened. But fortunately, he's okay. But don't know how he's going to come into this match physically after that match, because, yeah, you don't face Minoru Suzuki and come out the same man.
Definitely. This is making his rounds in Vegas. Seriously. Oh, it was crazy. Watching all the different people that he was wrestling. So cool. So cool. Oh, man. This is exciting. So, there was Was there any more match? No, right? There wasn't. These were the only ones.
So I think on day two, the people that get knocked out. So there's 8 people that will get knocked out. They'll be involved in some sort of match. I don't know whether it'll be an 8-man tag or a battle royal or something or other. But those wrestlers will wrestle on day two as well in some sort of match. I'm not entirely sure what.
Love that. Here, I put the graphic up once again for you guys to like see. Let me know who your picks are, who your faves are, who do you want to see. I don't know. I think I'm a Michael Oku girl here.
Yeah, I was about to say, I want to know who you think will win. Do you think
Yeah,
Oku?
I'm a little biased there. I would love to see him and Marcus Matters in the finals, but that's the little
Ooh, nice.
biasness of me.
Nothing wrong with bias.
Be a little biased, but this tournament's stacked, and like I'm excited. I can't wait to watch this. So, yeah, tell everybody again,
We are
like
really happy with it.
tell everybody where like they can follow it if they're not following already. You know, like where they,
Yeah,
are there
sure.
tickets still available? All that.
Yeah, so if you're in the UK, there are very limited tickets still available. So you can get a ticket for the weekend, you can get a ticket for just Sunday or just Monday. All those tickets are available. You can also get a ticket for a meet and greet if you want to come early, which will be at 1 p.m. You can get a meet and greet with Master Kitamiya on the Sunday and meet Michael Oku and Amira on the Monday, which is one that you would buy if you were in London.
Yeah.
And you can follow us on socials. So we are, this is _progress on Twitter. We are Progress Wrestling everywhere else. And you can watch the show on Triller TV Plus. And you can also watch the show on Demand Progress Plus. If you watch on Triller TV, I believe that stays up straight away. If you watch on Demand Progress Plus, you can only watch live, and then we do an extended director's cut to make sure that all the angles are right, rather than the live feed, and make it look as pretty as possible a week later.
Ooh, love that. Again, all the links are in the description below. You could buy tickets, all that for buy merch. I saw like there's a lot of merch on the site, which I put the link in the description as well. I'm excited. Are you excited? Like
Oh, I am so excited. It is always my favorite weekend of the year.
Love that. Man, thank you for coming on here and like chatting with us and chatting with the fans. Maybe they're, like I said, maybe they haven't watched before, and maybe this will give them the reason to come and join, and you have a new super fan pretty much over there. So
absolutely, I can guarantee that if you watch those 8 matches plus the 2 championship matches, you're going to find someone on that card that you're going to fall in love with.
Love that. Definitely love that. So thank you guys so much for tuning in. Thanks for your questions. If you're watching this later, again, leave us some comments. Make sure you make sure you're subscribed to the Queen of the Indies Corner. Make sure you're subscribed to Progress Wrestling as well. Follow them on all their social media platforms as well. So any other final thoughts that you like to share with the fans?
No, just thanks for watching, and I really do hope that you're interested in either Progress Wrestling or British wrestling in general, because it really does have an incredible talent pool, and we're really so proud of the fact that we're one of the companies that people start with and then go on to great things. It's happened in the past, and it will happen again.
Love that. Gotta open the eyes to indie wrestling, guys, as I always say. So you guys know the drill. Stay safe, support independent wrestling, and I'll talk to you guys soon. Have a good night.
Miserable.